Hello everybody, in this lesson I will discuss special angles in trigonometry. Now before I can start with the special angles, there's a concept in maths that I quickly want to explain to you, and that is called rationalizing the denominator. So what that means is if you find an answer and the denominator contains a root, then you want to get rid of that root and only give me a number, and that you call rationalizing the denominator. Now there's a rule, and the rule was if I give you root a times root b, and it's the same type of root, in this case a square root, and you are multiplying, then you can multiply the two numbers under the root, and the answer you can write under one root, one type of root. Now if I give you 1 over root 3, so what you want to do is you want to rationalize this denominator. Then what you do is you multiply on top and at the bottom by that specific number, root 3 over root 3. And by multiplying with that, it is the same as if you were multiplying by 1. And then on top, 1 times root 3 is root 3. And at the bottom, this is now the rule, root 3 times root 3, you can say is under 1 root 3 times 3, which is 9, and then the square root of 9 is 3. Now, if you look at this number, root 3 over 3, it is this 1 over root 3, but with a rationalized denominator. Let's do another one. If I give you 1 over root 2 and you want to rationalize the denominator, you multiply the top and the bottom by root 2 over root 2. And then it becomes 1 times root 2 is root 2, and at the bottom root 2 times root 2 is root 4. And then root 2 stays on top and the square root of 4 is 2. Therefore, 2 over root 2 is the rationalized denominator version of 1 over root 2. Now let's start with the special angles 0 degrees and 90 degrees. Now before we go there, if you look at this purple block here, I want to explain something that we call a unit circle. Now a unit circle is a circle of unit radius, which means it has a radius of 1 unit. It is a common figure in mathematics, especially trigonometry. A unit circle is usually represented in the Cartesian coordinate system, where it has a center at the origin. So back to the unit circle. That means, alright, you find 0 degrees there and 90 degrees there. And then there is a radius and it's a unit circle, therefore your radius is 1. Then the radius there is also, this distance is also 1, and then you find this point, and that point consists then of a coordinate x, y, and the coordinate is 1 and 0. And then your radius there, there's a point there, and the coordinate there will be 0 and 1. So the x is 0 and the y is 1. Now that is what you need. And remember, r is 1. It's a unit circle. Then we can start. Sin 0. So we go to 0. And then sin's ratio is y over r. And then your y at 0 is 0 and your r is 1. Therefore, sin 0 is 0 over 1, which is 0. Cos 0. Cos's ratio is x over r. So there at 0, your x is 1 and your r is 1. Therefore, cos 0 is 1 over 1, which is 1. Tan 0. Tan's ratio is y over x, and then y's value is 0 over 1, which is 0. Therefore, tan 0 is 0. Now let's move on to 90 degrees. The ratio for sin is y over r. Now we go to 90 degrees. Up there, y's value is 1 over 1, which is 1. Cos 90. Cos's ratio is x over r. The x at 90 is 0 over 1, which is 0. Therefore, cos 90 degrees is 0. And then tan 90, tan's ratio is y over x, which is 1 over 0, and that is undefined since division by 0 is not permitted. Determine the value of the following without the use of a calculator, and then your sum is cos 0 degrees plus sin 90 degrees minus tan 0. So you need your help sketch, which is your unit circle. There's 0 degrees, there's 90 degrees. R is 1. Then that coordinate there is 1, 0, and the coordinate there is 0, 1. And if you want to, you can add there xy, xy. It will just make your life easier. Now, back to the sum. Cos's ratio is x over r. So we go to 0, and the x there is 1, and the r is 1, because it's a unit circle. Then, plus sin 90. Sin's ratio is y over r. We go to 90. The y there is 1 over 1, because the r is 1. And then minus tan 0. We go to 0. Tan's ratio is y over x, and the y there is 0 over 1. Then 1 over 1 is 1 plus 1, and then this one 0 over 1 is 0, therefore 1 plus 1, and the answer 2. Now I'm going to show you how to work out the special angle 45 degrees. Now there is a right angle triangle in the Cartesian plane, but it's not a unit circle. Then it's a right angle, there's 45 degrees. And then the length of your sides, we make them 1, 1, and then with Pythagoras that one will work out and it becomes root 2. But then you must just learn that little sketch. Then we say sin 45 degrees. Now sin's ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. So if you go to 45 degrees, then 1 is opposite, so the opposite is 1, and the hypotenuse is root 2. Therefore, the value for sin 45 is 1 over root 2. Cos 45, cos's ratio is a over h, adjacent over hypotenuse. Therefore, it's 1 over root 2. And then tan 45 degrees, the ratio is opposite over adjacent. Therefore, tan 45 is 1 over 1. Determine the value of the following without the use of a calculator. And then the question is cos 45 degrees minus root 2 sin 45 degrees plus 1. So you need your help sketch, which is a right angle triangle, 45 degrees, and your sides 1, 1, root 2. Let's move over to the sum. Cos 45. Cos's ratio is adjacent over hypotenuse. Therefore, it's 1 over root 2. And then minus root 2, sin 45, sin's ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. Therefore, it's minus root 2 times 1 over root 2. And then plus 1 writes with. Then equals 1 over root 2. And then you can say root 2 and root 2 can cancel, and therefore you're left with the -1 and the +1 right with. And now you can say -1 plus 1 will cancel, and your answer 1/√2. The other two special angles are 30 degrees and 60 degrees. And again, you will need a help sketch. And your help sketch is not a unit circle. It's just a normal right angle triangle living in the first quadrant. Then this is 30 degrees, that is 60 degrees, and the length of your sides are 1, 2, and √3. Now, if I give you sin 30, you go to 30 degrees, which is this one, and then you say sin's ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. Therefore, sin 30 degrees is 1/2. Cos 30 degrees, cos's ratio adjacent over hypotenuse. Therefore, √3/2. Tan 30 degrees, tan's ratio is opposite over adjacent. Therefore, tan 30 degrees is 1/√3. Now, 60 degrees. Here you must be very careful because now the angle is there. It's not in standard position anymore. So, sin's ratio is still opposite over hypotenuse. But now, √3 is opposite 60 degrees. And the hypotenuse stays 2. Therefore, sin 60 degrees is √3/2. Cos 60 degrees is, cos's ratio is adjacent over hypotenuse. Therefore, 1/2. Adjacent to 60 is this one. So therefore, cos 60, 1/2. And then tan 60 degrees, tan's ratio is opposite over adjacent. Therefore, it's √3/1. Determine the value of the following without the use of a calculator. And then I give you a little sum, sin 30 degrees plus cos 60 degrees. It's the two special angles and you need a help sketch. There's our sketch. There's 30 degrees, 60 degrees, 1, √3, and 2. Now we can do the sum. Sin 30. Sin's ratio is opposite over hypotenuse, which is, if you go to the sketch, 1/2. Cos 60. Cos's ratio is adjacent over hypotenuse, but now you must be careful. There is 60, so adjacent to 60 is 1/2. And then a half plus a half is 1. Determine the value of the following without the use of a calculator. And again, you need your help sketch, your 30, 60, 1, √3, 2 triangle. And there's the sum. -3 plus cos squared 30 degrees plus tan squared 60 degrees. And then -3 right with. Now, don't be scared because there's a square there. All you do is you say the ratio for cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, and then you put a big bracket around the whole ratio and you're going to square it. -3. Let's go to 30. So 30 adjacent is √3 over, and the hypotenuse is 2. Let's go to plus tan squared 60. Tan's ratio is opposite over adjacent, and you put a big bracket around it and you're going to square it. Now we move to 60. Careful now. 60 opposite to 60 is √3 over, and 60's adjacent side is 1, and we square it. Therefore, -3 right with. Here, root 3 squared, the root and the square will cancel, and I'm left with 3 over 4, because you also have to square the 2 at the bottom. Plus, and then root 3 squared, the root and the square will cancel, and 1 squared is 1. Therefore, the answer 3 over 1. And then I can say negative 3 plus 3 will cancel, and the answer 3 over 4. In the next lesson, I will discuss the reciprocal functions in trig. Click on the video in the left-hand corner to take you straight to the next lesson.